So, hello everyone, and welcome back to another weekend workshop. We're thrilled that you are here to be a part of today's discussion on harnessing artificial intelligence with confidence because we are looking to make this work for our businesses. It's not going away. And as Cynthia talks to us today about this topic, I'm excited to see the practical applications for small businesses that are represented on this call. If you haven't met me before, my name is Carrie Ramsey, and I'm the project manager for the We Can project, which is led by Queen's University. And it has been just such a wonderful experience to bring you so many of these workshops. I think we're now over 170 workshops that we've brought to the We Can community. And as we're getting started, we certainly want to give you the opportunity to connect in the Zoom chat and let us know what is your business. Where are you located? Let's get to know you a little bit better. While you're doing that in the Zoom chat, I will take a moment to acknowledge that Queen's University is situated on the ancestral territory of the Huron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And as many of you know, Valentine's Day is this weekend, and February 14th actually has a significance in the Indigenous community. And the fact is that throughout Canada and parts of the United States, there will be various women's memorial marches this weekend, and it will be to honor the lives of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit, and gender diverse peoples. So this day offers a space to collectively mourn, hold ceremony, and call for action. As we know, this is an ongoing crisis in Canada despite national inquiries, action plans, and reports. The fact is that Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit, and gender diverse peoples continue to experience alarmingly high rates of violence. So women, Indigenous women, as we know, are 4 times more likely to be victims of of violence. And so if you want to learn more about this topic, I will put a link shortly into the Zoom chat. But keep that in mind and learn a little bit more this Valentine's Day as we learn about this important subject. So today we're absolutely honored to have Cynthia with us, who is going to be speaking to us about this topic of harnessing AI. And I met Cynthia a few months ago now at an AWEC event in Kingston, and she's just come right on board here today to be with us. It's been so fun to plan this with her. Cynthia, we want to give you your full time. So go ahead. I'll hand you the virtual microphone. Welcome so much. We're so thrilled to have you as a part of this workshop today.
Well, thank you so much, Carrie. Hello, everyone. It is wonderful to see some familiar faces and to meet new ones as well. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be here and to discuss this topic that has basically taken over our world and the way we work. So I will jump right in. If at any time you have any questions, please feel free to either put it in the chat. Carrie will monitor that, or use that raise hand feature, or you can unmute as well and speak up as well. Okay, here we go. So in 2019, Jeannie Ramady, who was the former IBM CEO at the time, she was the IBM CEO, said because of artificial intelligence, 100% of jobs will be different. And so I have a question for you all today. How confident do you feel using AI today on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, Angela said 2, Pat said 8, 5, 4, 8, 7, 1, 3. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Okay, this is great because then it tells us, some people have started using it, some people are using it well, and others not so much. So hopefully my goal is to try and, kind of dispel some of the myths and get us comfortable using it, as well as, we'll do some practice if we can as well on ChatGPT before the end of the call. So why does AI matter? AI matters for you because it can help with automation, okay? How can you reduce costs And these are things that I've applied for myself in my own small business. Over the last 3 years, I left the corporate job and jumped into my business, and I've been working ever since on my business full time. And initially, when I started, I was, you can imagine, as I think most of you, I was the developer. I run an AI and analytics business. I was the developer. I was the data analyst. I was the business analyst. I was the finance person, the sales and marketing person. I did all of it. And it was so stressful because I just couldn't. There were so many things that I couldn't handle and things were falling behind. And so some of the things I started asking myself was, what can I do to reduce the repetitive tasks that I was doing? It was either I hired somebody or I used something else. And that was at the beginning of AI. I will tell you, when it first came out, I was one of the skeptics. But over time, I've come to learn how to use it safely. Another thing that it does for you is it boosts productivity and revenue, right? And so the question I always ask is, how can AI increase my speed? It also levels the playing field and helps with confidence, clarity, and creativity. My mantra is always the human AI partnership, which is let AI do the drafting, but I do the editing. I eventually own the final work. Many people I've seen sometimes don't do that. They let AI do majority of the stuff, and we'll get into the dark sides of AI in a few minutes as well. So 5 areas where I think AI can help move your business forward. I've just kind of listed these 5 things, and because those are the things that I've seen for myself as well. Marketing and visibility, sales and conversion, operations and system. I use this a lot because, again, I'm in codes, I'm reviewing sites, I'm developing tools, and so I'm constantly using it. Strategic thinking and personal productivity. And so you may ask, what really is artificial intelligence? Well, we can't ignore it, right? We're not, I like to say it's not that the train hadn't left the station. It's actually, it's not that the train, is waiting to leave. It's already like moving at a high speed, and we all know this already. We're already using it in our smartphones. If you have a smartphone, you say, Siri, call this person, or take me to this website, or open up the Maps app. We're already using artificial intelligence in this way. There is the self-driving cars. I got the opportunity to try this out last year when I was in LA. And as scary as it was, I felt safe after the first time, and then I used it for the entire time of my trip. So it's already happening and it's already growing. There is the smart response that it gives, like if you have Google or Outlook. Sometimes when an email comes in, it gives you that smart response that you can kind of respond, or even on LinkedIn, for example, you have that. There's the smart complete where it, kind of completes, you're typing something and it completes it. These are all examples of artificial intelligence. Also, Amazon recommender system. This has been happening for years. You buy something on Amazon, it tells you 100 of your friends also bought this, this, and this. Would you like to buy those other things? So AI is already everywhere. And same thing on Netflix. When you're watching Netflix, you watch something, it recommends other things like it. It's also in education, and it's also being used in health. And so artificial intelligence applies to any technique that enables computers to mimic human intelligence. It uses logic, if-then rules, decision trees, and machine learning. And this is, I'm just going to define this and define maybe 1 or 2 things, but I really just wanted to kind of give us a definition of what it is, because sometimes I meet people and they say, what is AI, right? It's really a way of enabling computers to do what humans can do. So it uses logic like we do. It uses if-then rules. It uses decision trees. If this happens, then do this, or machine learning. So my next question for you is, do you believe that AI is able to or has changed how your business will be run? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, all right, there's some yeses there. Yes, yes, yep, maybe. 100%. Awesome. Yes, absolutely. It is changing the way our business is being run. And so for me, that's why I decided to lean even more in. When I started my business, it was an analytics organization. But because my partner and husband was also doing his PhD in artificial intelligence, we decided to also bring that into the company. And we now both work together full time on our business. And so I've had to lean into this piece, going from skeptic to now a super user of the tool. What is generative AI? And this is where, we kind of go into ChatGPT. So I wanted to just give this definition as well. So now we know what AI is. It's enabling systems, computers to do what humans can do. Generative AI, on the other end, is, it's a class, it's a type of artificial intelligence that helps to design or generate new content, data that is similar to what a human being might be able to produce. Note, these systems are able to produce original content, things such as text, images, audio, even video, based on large amount of data and examples that it has been given. And so this is where context engineering or prompt engineering comes in. Some examples of generative AI tools are ChatGPT, which is one of the most popular one, Meta AI, which is Llama, Gemini for those who are Google workspace folks, Claude, Perplexity, DeepSeek, and there's so many more, Grok, but these are just some to name a few. So one of the things that we'll be doing a bit more as part of our practicing today will be prompting. And many of us already do this if we're using artificial intelligence as a tool. You go in and you give it an instruction, you ask it a question, it gives you an answer, or you may give it additional context. That is really what prompt engineering is. So in clear terms, it's really how you craft clear and structured instructions for your AI. Of course, the better your prompts, the better your output. And I'll give you some examples here. It's like managing a smart, eager intern, is the way I like to call it, right? You have someone and, you kind of tell them something, they give you all of these options, even sometimes more than what you are hoping to receive. So for example, if you're looking to generate reports, refine emails or even generate emails, analysis, summaries, creative ideation for those who are in the creative industry, planning. These are all ways that I personally have also used this tool. All right, so I like this slide, and full disclosure, I actually took this from another presenter at a conference that I attended last week, and I actually told him, listen, can you give me permission to take this and use it also? It says here, AI knows more, but you know best. If you don't take anything away from this call, from this workshop, I want you to take that away. It knows more. It will give you more information because remember, it has a vast amount of data set on, at its, kind of to take from. But you know best. And the reason why you know best is because you've got your years of experience. Okay? So AI will generate all the better ideas on average, but it can't pick the best one. And the reason is because AI uses probability. It's statistics. It's built on statistics. So it's, if two people put the same prompt, it will give you slightly the same, but not necessarily completely the same information. It continues to learn how you interact with it, and it will skew the response it gives you based on what it has learned about how you interact with it. Okay, so you get to pick the best one. And it requires your judgment, your taste, and your expertise. Okay, so like I said, it gives everyone the same good ideas, sometimes varying ideas depending based on what it's learned, but your intuition and your pattern recognition is what will differentiate, what you take out of it and versus somebody that just uses whatever it gives them. You can't let it do all the work for you. You can't let it generate all the ideas for you. You need to review its output and provide additional context. Okay, I'm just going to move this down because I think it's here. Okay. All right, so how do we prompt, you may ask? This is a process that I use. This is a framework that I actually use when I prompt to generate the best output. It says there's a saying that goes garbage in, garbage out. What you put in is kind of the output you will get. So in using AI, for example, ChatGPT, which is the one that I think everybody would have access to because it has the free version as well, I use this framework. I give it a role, all right? Who should the AI be when I'm prompting it for something? I tell it what I want it to do for me. Okay, and I'll show you some examples in the next slides. I give it a context. What background does it need? Because again, remember, as humans, we have those contexts in the work that we do, we have all of those contexts. And then I tell it what format, what kind of output am I looking for? What format should it give me? Okay, so this is one that I like to use. Some other framework may say, instead of format, it may say constraint, which is what are the parameters, what are the guardrails? Because as we know, like I said, smart, eager intern, it can go off on its rails and give you even more than what you want. So I like to use this framework because it's really very beneficial and very helpful. And it helps me to kind of really think about what it is I'm asking so that I can get the best output. Okay, so here is an example of a prompt. A basic prompt, for example, analyze the sales results for me. Okay, so maybe I give it a sales result, like an Excel spreadsheet, or I take a screenshot of something and I kind of give it to it and say, analyze this for me. It will analyze it and it will give you a response, and very intelligent response as well. But it may not necessarily be relevant to what it is that you're looking for. Compare that to if I gave it an improved prompt. For example, act as a financial analyst. I'm preparing a presentation on Q1 sales performance for a small retail business. Provide a 3-paragraph summary using plain language and a bullet list of top 5 trends. Now I've given it a role, which is the financial analyst. I've given it a task. I've told it to provide a summary in plain language, right? I've given it a context, Q1 sales performance for a small retail business. And I've also given it a format, the constraints, right? So when I do that, it's able to return a better result for me because I've told it who exactly I want it to act as. I don't want it to just, kind of act as everything that it has in its database, but something specific. Okay, so that's an example of a prompt that gives it exactly what you want, and it then gives you a really good result. Another example of a prompt is, for example, I may say, write about leadership or give me insights about servant leadership. Rather than doing that, I give it an improved prompt to say, act as a leadership coach with experience training first-time managers. All right? Give me a clear and example explanation of what it means to be a good leader and provide two concise paragraphs tailored for a leadership development seminar. And then I, give it additional things. What does this tell me? I've given it a role. Okay, I've given it a role. So now it knows it, and I've told it, you are a leadership coach, and here is your experience. So it's given it the domain knowledge, the tone, and the authority. Okay, I've also given it a task. It tells it what to do and how to approach it. I've given it the context, right? Tailored for a leadership development seminar, which indicates the audience so that it knows who I want to tailor this information to. And then finally, I give it the constraints, the guardrails, the format. I want you to give me two concise paragraphs, including a quote at the end. Give me bullet lists of 3 practical takeaways. This ensures that it is actionable, it is structured, and you're giving it something, like I'm sure many of you have seen some LinkedIn posts or social media posts and it ends with a question, and you find that that's a bit more engaging. And so you can ask it to give you that. But again, remember, it knows more, but you know best. I always try to remind everyone of that. You know best. So whatever it gives you, you look at it, and then with your additional insight and perspective, you can then refine it. Oftentimes, my interaction with ChatGPT is not once, it's like multiple times. Okay, now do this, and now do this. Another example of a prompt is, for example, marketing campaign ideas. Rather than saying, give me some ideas for marketing, this is too broad. It has no product, no platform, no audience, no formatting guidance. But if you told it, for example, act as a creative director at a digital marketing agency, brainstorm 10 campaign ideas to promote a new eco-friendly water bottle on Instagram and TikTok. And you give it additional what you want it to give to you. Short title, one line hook, and a suggested hashtag. Right there, you've given it, those things: the role, the task, the context, and the format or the constraint. And so finally, here is one last example that I was just going to give you. And for the marketing one, some of the things that you could do with marketing, whether you're generating LinkedIn posts, you're rewriting your website, for example, you can even give it your website and say, and give it a prompt, act as a marketing expert or an SEO expert. What can I do to make my website pop? Or what can I do to make my website reach my target audience? And here's my target audience. Those kinds of things. Brainstorming. If you want to brainstorm things, it can also do that for you. Yes, Louise.
Thanks, Cynthia. I love this, and I can see how it's going to elevate what I've been doing to date. So tell me if you're getting to this, and then I will just, put my question in a parking lot. These prompts help us with content generation, but the piece that I don't know how to use AI for is the other pieces that you mentioned at the beginning, like streamlining activities or repetitive tasks, would we use similar types of prompts for that kind of generation, or is that a different approach?
Really good question. Thank you. Thank you, Louise. Yes. Yes, same, similar kind of prompts. Again, because the first thing I like to do is I think about what it is that I want to do, and then I prompt it and I continue to refine it until it actually gives me steps of what to do. So, for example, in one of my work with one of my clients, when I started, one of the things we did was we bought out a business from someone who was retiring. And so right there and then there were a lot of repetitive things that was being done previously. And that individual had domain knowledge, and so they already knew all the shortcuts and ways to get around things, but I didn't. And so one of the things I used the tool was to feed it prompts to say, act as somebody with domain knowledge. Here are the things, here are the tasks that I typically would do repetitively. How can I eliminate this repetition? Is there a code that I can put, whether in my sheet, or is there a tool that I can use to stop doing this kind of work on a regular basis? And I just want to check it once and that's it. And, give me ideas or a checklist so that I can ensure that I've checked off all the parts that I need to check. And then after prompting it, it's basically the same. You prompt it until it gives you what you are looking for. Sometimes it generalizes too much, and that's kind of where the guardrails come from. But it's the same framework. Good question. Thank you. Okay, another. I think this one may be my last example for prompts. For example, if you were to say, create a follow-up email about a training that we've just finished. Again, it's unclear who the audience is. We don't know, okay, what is the tone, what is the structure, what are the constraints? We don't know that. However, if you said, act as a corporate trainer, draft a follow-up email summarizing 3 key takeaways from a leadership workshop for new team leads. Include a friendly intro, 3 bullet points summarizing key learning outcomes, and a prompt to book a coaching session. Right there and then, you not only told it, give me something, but also an additional thing that I can use as a follow-up as a training coach. And, right there, it gives it to you. And so these are, there are different ways of prompting. This one is the framework that I like to use. But of course, if you're kind of in a hurry or you just have an email that you need to refine, and I'll show you how I set up my chat to know my tone and my style so that I don't have to keep prompting it, or giving it this framework all the time. I've also, for example, set up AI assistant for myself that I've already given the context that I would always use. And so I just come to it and I feed it with information, and it uses the context that I've already set up with it to give me a response. And I'll show that later. Okay, so now that we've seen what this tool can do, I want to get into the dark side of AI. And I'm just going to use some pictures to kind of depict what we'll be talking about. But of course, this is an area that many of us are concerned about. And I'm still concerned about it, and I'm interested even in knowing how, as whether it's the government or a body that governs or puts guardrails around this, because it's so new, but moving so fast, we need to really understand what the dangers are. So What are the dark side of artificial intelligence? Hallucinations. That's the biggest one. Hallucinations. It can give you all kinds of information. It can even, remember, artificial intelligence generates new content, proprietary content that's not even that so you can't even trace it to anything. And this is why you want to always fact check it. You always want to check, especially if you're putting information out there that you're sharing as something that's true, right? You want to check that AI is not hallucinating in the information it's provided to you. So hallucination is one of the big one where it will pull information that's not there and it will give it to you. And again, remember, it's smart and it's eager. It will give it to you like it's the right thing. And so if it's giving you something that you're not quite sure of, please, exactly. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Angela. Yes. A lawyer got into trouble for being in court with AI generated material that was completely false. Completely false. And we've seen it over and over. So hallucination is a big one. And that's why for me, I attended a training last year or 2 years ago now, where we could set up AI to post on a regular basis on LinkedIn, right? And as fantastic as that sounded, because I'm too engrossed in my operational work that I can't even look at that. As fantastic as that was, I was too worried about hallucination, right? Because again, what if I don't know what it goes out there and posts for me? Now I've also prompted it and set it up, even though I haven't even released that piece of work, but I'm still kind of like testing it out because I want to be sure that it has all the context and it cannot generate anything that I didn't, intend for it not to generate. So hallucination is a big one. So keep that in mind. It is problematic.
Cynthia, what does the LLM stand for?
Oh, my apologies. Large language model. It's another name. It's the technical name for ChatGPT. Thank you. My apologies. Sometimes you see these things and you assume that everybody knows it like you. Yes, large language model. That's the tools, right? The Gemini, the Claude, the ChatGPT, they're all examples of large language models because they use large data sets in analyzing. Okay. Here is something that came out towards early last year, actually. The Harvard Business Review actually released this. And as of early last year, I'm actually waiting for the one for this year to come out to see what has changed. In 2024, generative AI, like ChatGPT, was being used for generating ideas, therapy, specific research, editing tests, and all of that. However, look at the top three in 2025: therapy and companionship, organizing my life, finding purpose. Therapy and companionship is one of the biggest use. And I've heard many people's stories over and over where people have talked about how ChatGPT is their best friend. Because again, remember, it learns your behavior, it learns what you want to hear, and it tells it to you. It's the absolute perfect companion. But it's a reminder that it's not a human being, all right? It's a machine that is giving you all of this. I've read about people getting married to their ChatGPT persona, right? People traveling to across the seas to the, other countries because they thought that for some reason there was a person because ChatGPT told them, if you go here, you would meet me, something like that. It is wild, right? So people are using chats on a regular basis, finding purpose. That's, exactly. And we all thought love was hard to find. Not anymore. Not anymore. Right? Not with ChatGPT. It will tell you, and you know what? You can even set it up so that it calls you at specific times. It tells you, good night and love you and all kinds of nonsense. You can set it up and it will do it for you. So, again, like I said earlier, it's not about to leave. The train is not about to leave, it's moving at a very high speed. All right. So, these are the top 10 Gen AI use cases. You can see or already that generating idea has gone from number one in 2024 all the way down to number 6. It's scary. Another one is this was an article that came out late last year where it said that more than 1 million people every week show suicidal intent when chatting with ChatGPT. And this is from OpenAI. Okay, yes, Leah. Leah said I do call it my best friend only because it helped organize my thoughts and remove emotions. Exactly. That's for me, that's one of the reasons why I use it. But I use it with a lot of caution. Okay, so imagine that more than 1 million people interacting with just ChatGPT, because there's other large language models, Gemini, Claude. There's so many of them now, but more than 1 million people have suicidal intent. And so, how do we curtail this? How do we manage this mental health crisis that's about to take over our world? People are truly being extremely overly vulnerable with it because it would never challenge you. It would never, push back on you. It will just keep giving you what it thinks you want to hear. Another one is work slop, and I've seen this a lot. Sometimes I have even fallen into this where maybe I was running late and I needed to, provide something, material, and all of a sudden I take work slop. Really is how it's defined is AI outputs that look rich. It has a lot of information, but completely lacks substance, right? And sometimes you've read or even seen things like that online where, somebody has like 3 massive paragraphs and you finish reading it and you're like, what does that even mean? What were you trying to get at? That's what work slump is. It is destroying productivity. And that's why I keep saying it knows more, but you know best. It knows more, but you know best. And so you always want to use it to amplify the work that you are doing. Kids, our children. For me, I have teenagers, and it's a real concern that I have, right? What is it doing to them? They have access to these things. How do we even reduce it? It's a big one. And so for me, as a woman in this industry, I want to get into the conversation to kind of see how we can support our societies and communities, and put some guardrails. There's I think it's Finland or a country, I can't remember now. I think it's Finland that have said no Gen AI in the high schools. And so I guess over the next 4 to 5 years, we'll see what the effect of that does for those kids in that particular country, versus our own children where they have access to these things and it's like literally everywhere. Critical thinking is going to become no longer common sense because people are no longer using their brains. And for me, I worry a lot for my young ones. Yes. Yes, Melissa said it's your executive functioning assistant. Perfect. And again, training it, it's so important. And I'm so glad that people are using it. And again, the thing is using it safely, using it wisely, and making sure that you double check what it gives you. And so, for our children, for me, that's a big concern. I'll move quickly because I think we need to take a break soon. Another one is recruitment. We've seen this over and over where recruitment tools were used that were used to train AI, that AI was used to train it, have biases inherent in them. For example, I think it was a couple years ago, Amazon came out and said that a lot of their engineers were skewed towards men because the data that it used to train its recruiting engine used data in the 70s and 80s where there were majorly men as engineers. And so it would, skew out or remove or not even take the resumes of female applicants. And so there's a lot of concern around here as well. Another one is, facial recognition. When you join an online interview and somebody, yes, Jen. Oh no? Okay, sorry. Probably Zoom's AI helping you with the raise hand feature. Smart, eager intern, I'm telling you, that's what it's doing. If you put your hand like this long enough, it will give the thumbs up. It's really interesting. And so where do we, when it scans your face, facial recognition, where do we draw the line? And what you think you're reading out of my face, is it completely true? I remember 19 years ago when I first moved to this country, I think, or maybe it was 18 years ago, there was this show called Lie to Me. And basically the idea was this man knew how to read faces, right? And I remember thinking, sometimes what you're reading, you don't have the cultural context. The culture that I come from, if I'm speaking to an elderly person, out of respect, I have to look, I can't look them straight in the eye. And so if I'm talking to you and you're interrogating me and I'm thinking that you're an elderly person and I'm not looking you straight in the eye, you may think that I'm hiding something, but I'm not, because you don't have my cultural context. And so again, these kinds of things, who is it training? What data is it using to determine what is the right thing? Police brutality, again, massive one, right? Where certain people, and we also see that even in different parts of the world, where a certain group of or race of people are profiled more than the others. So these are things that are quite harmful. The auto cars, if this car with this nice young lady sleeping, if it were to hit someone, who is liable? Is it the woman that's sleeping behind the wheel? Is it the company that created the AI? Is it the one that created the car? Who is liable? We don't know yet. This is all the guardrails that we need to bring to the forefront. Facial recognition, in a crowd. Who gave, this looks like an airport or somewhere anyway, it's a crowded space. Did all of these people give consent for their facial recognition? How do we ensure that people know exactly what their data is being used for? Biases, right? When I asked ChatGPT, give me an example of a married couple, people who are getting married in a wedding, right? It gave me this, it gave me this, it gave me this. But it said this one is a person or people. However, this is actually valid in my culture as a wedding attire for a particular group, right? So again, what data is it using to train? And I'm wrapping this portion up so that we can take our break. I think I have maybe 2 or 3 more slides, and I'll just quickly go through them. Here's another big concern. When Elon Musk said he was going to build one of the largest supercomputers in Memphis, locals were very concerned because it was going to use massive amount of water and electricity, right? How are we using all of this? Who determines what is okay and what is not, right? ChatGPT was the technology behind it was built using a lot of water. There's the environmental concerns as well, right? I've talked about children. Should it be allowed in school or should it not be allowed in school, right? Should we be worried about how it impacts the future of education or not? Copyright content. For example, OpenAI sued, the Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft over their use of their copyrighted work. So I will take a pause here, and I guess, Carrie, I'll hand it over to
Yeah,
you. And
sure. Thanks, Cynthia. Wow, so much food for thought so far. What we're going to do, folks, is we're going to take a 5-minute break. Do not go anywhere, though. We're going to give our ASL interpreter a chance to rest her hands. And so, in the chat, though, this is available to all of us. Why not put how you're using AI in your own business? Think of some tasks based on so far what we've had. We'll take a 5-minute break, and I'll write that question again. Thanks, everyone. If you're just joining us, we're on a 5-minute break with our ASL interpreter. We'll be back in about 1 minute. All right, Cynthia, we're good to go. I just realized that I didn't pause the recording for that 5 minutes. That's all right. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you and welcome back, everyone. Okay, so now what I'd like us to do is actually do some practice. Now that we know what AI, artificial intelligence, and prompting is. We have the framework, the role, the task, the context, and the format or constraint. I'm just going to walk us through some examples, and I love the conversation that's happening in the chat, everybody that's chiming in, thank you so much. And thanks, Carrie, for that really wonderful question, or the questions that you've asked. Really, really good conversation happening there. So thank you. So what we're gonna do today is I will show you the privacy settings. If you don't want, I think one of the things that people are worried about is putting your information into the World Wide Web, and we don't know where it's going. And so one of the things that I've set up with one of my tools is not allowing it to use my data to train the model. Okay, so I'm going to show us how I set that up. So this is my chat GPT. I'm going to just expand it here. Can you see my chat screen? Okay, perfect. I have the paid version, the one where you pay 20 USD per month. I found it beneficial, and I'll show you a little bit what's different based on the way I use it as well. But before that, for over a year and a half, I used the free version. So if you're not using it extensively, I wouldn't recommend, paying for it. But if you want to really take the work that you're doing with it to the next level, then I'll recommend investing that amount. And so for the privacy setting, if you have your chat open, and if you've done this already, then don't worry about it. But if you haven't, then this is an opportunity. If you go down to the bottom left corner where it has your name, like I'm showing here, and you click on settings. When you click on settings, it will pull up this pop-up that says general. And on that, you would see data controls. Okay, so data controls, and this is where I turn off the model, using it to improve, like using my data that I put in to improve the work. Okay, improve the model for everyone. If I turn this on, right, then it says it's on, but if I turn it off, then it can't use my data to train the model. So it's your own way of saying, no, thank you, OpenAI, do not use my data in training as part of the vast amount of things that you use to train this stuff. I do have, because again, for me, I'm interested in also being part of the conversation. I have another account where I go in and I put things and I allow it to train, right? Because again, remember the bias that I talked about? If we are not in there putting information, then it would continue to train with only the information that it has, which may be biased against us and most of the time against women, because women are more guarded, right? And men are like, yep, let's put everything out there, right? So I do have another one that I use, and I give it that permission. But the one that I use on a regular basis for my work and everything, I turned that off. Okay, any question about that?
Someone was just asking if that is what you're showing is only in the paid version, but I just
No.
commented, no, it's in the free as well. But you have
Yes.
to be signed in, like have an account.
You have to have an account.
You have to have an account. You can't just use the do not log me in version. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Yes, please. Thank you, Carrie. You have to have an account, and it is there in the free version. Another thing, so you heard me talk about how I've trained my version of the tool to know
Cynthia,
how, yes.
Leah has her hand up.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, didn't see that. Go ahead.
So do you mean that you have two Chat GPT accounts, or in there, are you able to have separate ones like a tree where you have one branch can share, one branch doesn't share? Or do you have two separate GPT accounts?
good question. Right now, it's two separate GPT accounts. They don't have it yet where one you can share and one you can't share. Hopefully that will be out, but right now it's two. And the way I do it is I use two different browsers. So I use one browser for the one that I have an account that I've paid, and another browser for the one that's not paid. Good question.
Okay.
All right. Another thing, so I was talking about how I've trained it for to learn who I am and my style of speaking. And so here in the personalization tab, still under settings, you'll see that I've come in here and I've set, some things are default, and you can change it if you want. To be less warm or more enthusiastic or those kinds of things. But I've also given it some custom instructions, right? I've given it who I am. I've told it about the work that I've done, my leadership approach, what I like to do, and the things that I've done where, for example, I've taught in the post-secondary level. I work with a lot of students. I balance visionary leadership. So I've given it all of this information. I've told it what my values are, right? And the way I like to communicate. I've given it the dimensions that I work across and my writing style. Okay? So I've given it all of this information and I said, listen, every time I give you a prompt, I want you to approach it from this context. Okay, so this is one way that I've also structured it so that it knows a little bit about me. And I don't constantly have to feed it context. Yes, Louise.
Would it be possible for you to drop in the chat the headings that you use so that we can replicate that? Because I definitely want to do this. And I was trying to take notes as you were talking, and I know I missed some of those headings.
Okay, sounds good. I will.
Thanks.
Cynthia, if you say them, I'll write them in the chat. Go ahead, you say them.
Okay. All right. So I give it information about myself, my journey as a business owner. I also tell it the work that I've done. So kind of that context, my experience in the work that I've done, my values, the dimensions that I work across. So, if I work across different dimensions, so for me, AI analytics, coaching are things that I do, entrepreneurial work, and my writing style.
Great.
And hence, you can actually use ChatGPT to develop the draft, and then you kind of use, and then you clean it up to suit you. Okay? So that's a little bit of what I've done. I've also, kind of given it same thing that like what I put up there, but the tone and style of my writing, and the language that I wanted to always use, right? I've given it an approach. Okay, so provide those polished, ready to use deliverables, whether it's emails, agendas, codes, snippets, all of that stuff. And I've given it some instructions in terms of guardrails. So when you're giving me information, I want you to give it to me in a practical, step-by-step way, especially if it's coding, so that then I can understand what you're telling me to do. Okay, so that's what I've done with personalization. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm just going to quickly go back to my slide here to see what else. Okay, so the next one I'll show you is folders. Now, I can't remember if the free version has folders, but I'll show you again for me how I use it. And then
It
we'll
does,
look at,
Cynthia. Yeah,
yes.
it does. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Great, thank you. All right, so this again is my page, and I think most of the things we have here, the free version will have, except maybe a few. And so you'll see here where I've got projects. Okay, and what I've done is I've created some folders of the things that I would typically use on a regular basis. And I've, so for example, one that I use, I am a high performance team coach at the Smith School of Business. Yes, okay, no. I am a high performance team coach at the Smith School of Business. And so, there's some things that I wanted to help me with, in refining the emails that I send to my students, or brainstorming some ideas if there's one of my teams that have encountered a challenge. And, I have some ideas, but I want a little bit more in my toolkit. And so for my team coaching one thing that I like is it stores all the different prompts, all the different things that you've asked it to do in this folder. And you can also add files. You can also add files, right? You can do some deep research. There's so much more that you can do with the folders. And I'll show you how to create the folders if you've never done that before. So I added files, the relevant files that I wanted it to use as a context, so that every time I come and I prompt it, it already has some sort of context. Some of them are research stuff that I've found on the internet and I really liked, and it aligns with my way of coaching. And so you'd see that, sometimes I've come in here and I've asked the different questions around, actionable steps for accountability, and it gives me some ideas. And so I can even go back to some of them to see, okay, what was it that it told me? How did I prompt it? Do I need more? And so forth. And so,
Cynthia, Leah's
yes,
asking a question. If folders created or projects created, they won't overlap?
no, they won't overlap. Yeah. It helps to just keep everything separate, as long as, say for example, if I come in into my team coaching folder and I start a new chat or a new prompt, it does, it just keeps it in that folder. Let's say, for example, I didn't start that new prompt in the folder and I started it outside, maybe here. So you'll see that it tells you all your chats, for example. And then what I do is, let's say I want to put this chat or this prompt that I had as part of my team coaching folder. I'll go to this 3 dots. Okay. I click on the 3 dots and I move it to the project. If I don't have a project yet, I will create a new project. And once you click that, it will give you, and then you can put the name of the project that you want to create. And once you create that project, it moves that particular chat to that project. So it really helps to organize. So that when I come in here and I just want, a specific chat that I had maybe around finances, I can go back to it because it's organized for me. Okay. So again, that's, the way to create folder, and I really like it because it helps me to organize things. I have another one for travel, where I've asked it a bunch of different questions around airline costs, hotels, Airbnbs, and all of that stuff, right? So I have different ones depending on the things that I'm doing. You can see that another one that I use a lot is my PHP programmer, because like I said earlier, I get into codes, and this really helps me to kind of really organize all my coding that sometimes I may not understand things, and I just ask it. But I also have a developer, a programmer that I work with as well. So for the complex stuff, I go to him. Okay, so I'm not asking ChatGPT to do all the coding for me, even though it is pretty good, I will say. And it's helped me reduce significantly my cost in that area, where I was paying on average $2,000 a month for coding or development work. And now that has greatly reduced to under $500. All right. So that's, for me, it has been really beneficial because of the work that I do. Okay, so any questions around the folder, the settings, the personalization, before I go on to the next one?
I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anybody wants to raise their hand or put a question in the chat. Any other thoughts? Oh, wait. Oh, yes.
Yes, I agree with you, Angela. AI, it is truly, truly changing everything. And one of the things that I like to say is, it's not, let's, as much as possible, get ahead of it and see how we can leverage it as a colleague, right? Kind of, and use it to our advantage. Because it's not so much that AI will replace the work that we do. It's more that the person who can use AI and can leverage the tool is going to replace us, right?
Mhm.
That's the challenge that we are all faced with. Stacy.
Hi, thanks so much. This is wonderful. Just going back to the different projects and folders, if you're separating out your projects, does that mean the GPT is still taking, like, assimilating all the information from the projects to use to teach it, or is it still keeping it separate? That
Good
was my
question.
question, because I was trying to do things and I wanted to make sure it could still pull from a different project to use that for something else.
Oh, that's a really good question. So what it does, it doesn't use, so because I've turned off the training stuff, it doesn't use my data to train. Of course, we all know that if, for example, the FBI starts looking for you, your data will be found, all right, whether you've turned it off or not. However, you turning it off is saying, OpenAI, I do not give you permission to use my data, but they still have it stored somewhere, and it will be found if it needs to be found, but it doesn't train it. Now, if you're using it and you want to leverage what you've stored in one particular folder for another folder, it may not understand that context unless you go into the actual folder and prompt it to give you information that you can then use in the new folder that you're, or the project that you're thinking about.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, that answers my question. It keeps it kind of separate. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next thing I also want to show is deep research. This is one that I've used especially for strategy for my business. Like I said, I moved into this business 3 years ago. So for the first year and a half to 2 years, I kind of was, heads down, just learning things, especially the portion that we bought. And so over the last year, one of the things I started doing was, okay, now that I understand a little bit about the work that we do and I can support my clients effectively, where are we going next, right? And when my partner came on board, one of the things that we needed to do was, okay, what's our strategy for growth and all of that? And so I leveraged the tool as well. So I did one last night in preparation for this. So let me see if I can find it. Maybe I put it here. There we go. So, and I'll show you what I did. The deep research piece, the reason why I like it is it's kind of like having 2 to 4 PhD at your beck and call, people with doctorates or experts in that area. Okay, so I came in and I gave it this prompt. I am a woman entrepreneur running an analytics and artificial intelligence organization serving organizational coaches all around the world. I want you to conduct a deep research and provide blah, 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 blah. I gave it all of the information that I'm looking for. Again, hint, if you're thinking, how do I even know how to do this? Just ask chat. It will give it to you and then you can refine it. Let it draft, but you own eventually the end result. So I, kind of updated this and so it took it 14 minutes. And actually, before I do that, let me show you how I did the deep research and then So when you go to prompt it and you click on this, you see this deep research. Okay. And when you click on deep research, now whatever you prompted, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to provide citations. It's going to look at publications, and actually you would see it working through that whole process where it's checking different things, checking different websites to gather all the information for you. And so that's another way that I also use it. If you're looking to step into a new market and you're not quite sure how to start, you can give it the context and tell it to give you some information. And then that gives you some steps that you can use. All right, so going back to the one that I did, I'm just going to quickly show you. So it took 14 minutes, gave me 31 citations, 355 searches, right? And I can actually download this if I want, right? So it's provided me a comprehensive report about what I've prompted it to give me for my business. I'm going to go back and read this because the last time I did this was about a year ago. So I'm going to go back to see what new information it's given me. Louise, do we have deep research on the free version as well? I think so. The last time I checked. Yes. Okay. Louise said yes. Okay. Thank you. Right. The only challenge with the free version is sometimes it has limits. It won't continue to give you information. So the token amount is smaller versus the paid version. So if while you're prompting chat and you're using the free version and then all of a sudden it doesn't give you any response or doesn't let you put in any more prompt, probably because it's gotten to the limits of the token. Okay, so this is deep research right here. Okay, so it's given me really good information that I can go back and take a look at. It's prioritized gap opportunity matrix, all kinds of things, the risk and the mitigation. So like I said, it's like 2 to 4 PhD people who are working on your behalf. This is also one of the ways that I use the tool. Okay. Finally, before and actually we don't have that much time, so I may not get into AI assistance in detail, but I'll just quickly show you what I've done. And I think this is one where the paid version helps. Okay, the paid version, with the paid version, we have the GPTs. And this is where I've gone in and I've created my AI assistants. And I'll just quickly show you this. So, like I said, I code a lot. And so one of the things what I did was to kind of set up this assistant. Here is what I did. I gave it a name. I gave it a description, and then I told it what it is. So remember how I said I've set up something so that I don't have to continue to give context every single time. I've given it context so that every time when I come in to prompt, I just tell it, can you explain this error? Because I've already given it the context. I've told it, you are a code expert, a versatile assistant focused on blah, 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 blah. Here is the formatting output I want you to provide to me. Always present the code in fenced block with the current language tag. Tell me if it's Java, if it's SQL, if it's all of that stuff.
How
I don't
did you
need to
get
go
to that screen, Cynthia? Someone's asking.
Oh, okay, great. So on the paid version, we have what is called the GPTs. Okay, that on the paid version. And so you can, once we click on Explore GPTs, you can look at the ones that have already been set up by other people that they've made public, or you can create a new one. When you create a new one, you click create, then you can set this up. So the one that I had set up is the one that I was just showing. And when you set it up, then you're able to, so for example, when I went to create, this is all the information that I gave it. And I told it, here's what I want you to do. Oh, here's one that may be a bit more relevant. Email refinement. So my email refinement specialist is one that I use often because I send a lot of emails. And so when I went to create, so click on Explore GPTs, click on Create, and then you give it a name, you give it a description. Hint, again, you can ask ChatGPT for the prompts. Just, something like, I would like to create an AI assistant to refine my email using the GPTs. Give me the prompts that I need. And it will give you, and then you can refine it. And so that's what I did, was to take what it gave me and then refine it and kind of make it my own, in my own language. Okay, so I gave it the context so that it knows, again, I've told it must be, the writing style must be tailored to my preferences, adapting based on past examples of my tone, phrasing, and signature style. So I'm telling it, as I'm working with you, learn how I work. Because remember, in the personalization, I've already told it what I wanted, who I am, and how I communicate. Okay, so that's another thing that I've done, which is the AI assistant. And so every time I come in, I just give it something and I tell it, write this email for me. But here is a little bit more context.
So Cynthia, just because of time, I'm wondering if we should kind of break for Q&A, and I want to make sure that you share your contact information as well. I don't want to cut you off if that was a natural spot, though. This is like just mind blown, like all the things that we can actually do, even with the free version. I love the sign for that.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes, please. So what I can, I have this practice instructions that I can just give to you. And then you can practice it, on your own. How do I share this? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment and just copy and paste this. And you can use this on your own and leverage it to ask, tell it to give you responses based on this, right? Like, so the task is define your business. Okay, what is your business? I've used mine as an example, and I just put some examples there. Who is your ideal client? What is one current challenge that you're facing? And then give it some prompts: marketing, strategic, and productivity, and see what it gives you. But again, like I said, AI knows more. It would always know more, but you know best.
Mic drop. Yeah. And you also mentioned sort of that GIGO concept of garbage in, garbage out. So we have to use this tool as it serves us with, and I appreciate your bigger picture of the AI puzzle. It reminds me of when Google came out. It reminds me even when, each new technology, there's a high level of fear and, paranoia, even in some ways. But I think as humans, we need to figure out how to make this work in an ethical way. Of course, ideally the laws would catch up with the technology. I don't know if that ever happens, but
Carrie?
yeah, we need to be responsible and ethical. Jen,
Leah has her hand up. I've lost my pin.
does that
Oh,
help?
okay, I found it.
It's because I spotlighted Cynthia. Sorry.
Are you possibly able to change the spotlight? Oh, okay, wait.
I,
No,
I
I got it.
removed it. Does it work?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Any final questions? We have about 5 minutes left. Want to make sure if you have one, we've got our expert here. Cynthia, can you put your contact information as well into the Zoom chat in case people might, and I know Cynthia is super busy. However, if you're looking to hire the company or even ask a question, I'm sure she can help. Megan, go
Yes.
ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
Ah, there we go.
There
Sorry
you
about that.
go.
I just wanted to briefly go over the question about using the AI assistant. Um, can you just firm up that through those mechanisms, you were talking about being able to do things like automating? Um, you had mentioned if I wanted to post regularly on LinkedIn, dot, 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 dot. Could you kind of explain what that process would look like? Because I'm still a little bit uncertain at that juncture. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Um, the simplest answer is it's more than just ChatGPT. There are multiple tools that can be used to automate posting to LinkedIn, for example. So there are multiple. I think there's like 4 or 5 different tools that I typically would use. Google Sheet is one of them. Make.com is another tool that I use, and it's kind of like an automation workflow tool where you tell it, okay, I want you to take information from this website, synthesize it, and create a paragraph using that's RTCF framework, and then I tell it to post at this point around this time of day. So there's like 4 different tools that is used for it. And, maybe if we have time another time, I may be able to show you, but you then need yet tokens, so there's a little bit more that's involved in doing that piece.
And I think a lot of people, Cynthia, are confused and they think ChatGPT is AI. Like when we say AI, they think, but really it's like every program, like you said, Google Docs has AI built into it. Canva, like many of us use. How many of us you've used AI in Canva? I sure have, right? And so it's like it's using the tool that you're using. Look at the AI automation. Can it help you automate? I think it's within those tools. That's the difference, I think, for most of us, that's sort of an aha moment for sure. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Everyone's on a different spectrum of understanding of AI here. So I think a lot of people just equate AI with ChatGPT, and of course it's much bigger than that,
It's much bigger.
obviously. Obviously. Okay, any final questions as we're wrapping up today? I'll check the chat. Okay. Pause for another moment. Lots of accolades in the Zoom chat. This was amazing,
Thank you,
Cynthia. Really
everyone.
helpful. I love the spirit with which you presented it, as well as the practical aspects. So thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. Everyone, you have access to Cynthia through the website, which we provided in the Zoom chat below. It will be posted on our YouTube channel later today as well. If you need that YouTube channel, just reach out to me and you can watch the whole thing again or pass it on to someone else. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic day now. Take care. Bye bye.